Welcome everybody of you. Thank you very much for agreeing to participate in this online panel. So we have three active professional daily bloggers who are doing social media on their daily in their daily work every day. They do every day with that, and I'm really happy. And these people are not from Boston; they are from almost around the world. We have only three people. So we have Etteh Enobong. He is not the first one. And from the left, I go from the left to the right. Etteh Enobong is the founder of Board at Work. He will explain later a little bit more what that is. It's a tech blog from Boston, so that's the only kind of local guy here. Then we have Klaus Herrmann. This is the second one. Say hello, Klaus.
Hello.
Okay. Works. So Klaus Herrmann is a photographer from Germany with a very successful blog about Farbspiel.com. That is the name of the blog, and you see very likely also the URL at the bottom. And our third participant is Rachel Martin. She's mother of 7 children, writer, speaker, blogger from Minnesota.
That's me.
She writes about important things in life and finding joy. So we have 3 very different topics, very different blogs, but what these people have in common, they really work on a daily basis with that. Thank you very much for agreeing to talk about your business, and we can maybe go now around and talk about what are you doing, what is your business, what is the content what you are posting, and how do you deal with all of this kind of stuff on a daily basis, content-wise. So, Etteh, do you want to start?
Yeah, sure. Again, my name is Enobong Etteh. My blog is called Board at Work. It's a tech and entertainment website. Just to give you some brief history about this, I started the blog about 5 years ago, and the whole idea was to provide myself and my friends tech contents that we like to view on the web. I noticed that I, went to various websites to look for content, and I figured, why don't I just create a hub on my own? So it spawned from there, and it gradually grew in size, of course using different techniques in social media, which we'll talk about more later on. But a lot of the things I do is I review technology. So I am the guy who gets the cell phone, the tablet, the iPad before most people, and I tell and I tell people what I think about them, if it's good, if it's worth buying, and things like that. So that's the general framework of the website. In terms of social media, that's the main driving tool in promoting my site and also promoting my business. I mainly use Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. YouTube is actually my biggest social media avenue. Most people don't consider YouTube as a big social media avenue, but I do, and I can get into such topics as we go along. But that's pretty much what Board at Work is all about.
Okay, good. So. Klaus, can you talk a little bit about what your blog is about and what you're doing, what kind of categories you maybe have, or what kind of content you are posting?
Yeah, of course. My name is Klaus Herrmann. I'm calling from Stuttgart, Germany. My site, Farbspielfoto.com, is mainly about photography. So I'm a fine art photographer, and I publish photos, images, and I also publish photography and post-processing tutorials. So that's the main subject of my site, and there's a lot of stuff on there about post-processing. For example, I'm also using YouTube to publish videos where I'm presenting time-lapse videos of how to post-process photos, and I'm presenting before and after comparisons. So a lot of different categories and stuff on my website. It's all about photography, and one main area of photography which I'm very active in is HDR, which is, in a nutshell, to combine several exposures and get more dynamic range into a photo, and this can be very complex, technically challenging, and that's mainly the subject of the website. I am pretty much almost everywhere on social media, so I'm on Google+, I'm on Facebook, Twitter, Flickr, 500px, Pinterest, YouTube, you name it, I'm there. It's probably not all of them. There are so many social media sites, you can't be on all of them, but those are the most important ones. And I would say that I'm most active on Google+, where I also have the biggest following. But I'm trying to serve all the channels.
Do you post the same stuff on all of these channels, or is it different from channel to channel when it comes content-wise? Because I think it's very hard to have so good quality content and distribute it all everywhere.
Yeah,
How do you handle that?
I'm not posting the same stuff on all of the channels. I'm trying to use the channels to their maximum potential. So Google Plus, for example, is great for writing, let's say, verbose or long posts about something. Twitter, you only have 140 characters. Pinterest is just about images and about pinning stuff. So one rule that I could share with people is that you shouldn't use all those social media channels as kind of a bucket and pour in the stuff that comes out on all of them, but use them for what have been built for. For example, Twitter. I use Twitter mainly as a curation tool. So you post links to stuff that are about photography or social media, but it's not much more than that. And if you post the same links to Facebook, it's getting a little bit boring. So on Facebook you post you have a little bit more space to post, and on Google Plus you have still more space to post stuff, and you can post images and photos. And so all these different social media channels have different capabilities, and you should use them according to their capabilities.
Very interesting. Rachel, how do you do that? What kind of stuff do you post, or what do you write? I said already this Finding Joy is the title of your blog. So can you talk a little bit what is important for you there?
I would love to. Yeah, I'm Rachel Martin, and I blog at rachelmariemartin.com. And Finding Joy is the title that I gave to it. And I blog and write a lot about intentional living and what it means to live a life that's really awake and aware. I think that so many of us, and especially my primary audience is moms, but a lot of us go through life kind of on autopilot, and we miss out on the moments that are tucked in the everyday, especially young moms, new moms. They read a lot, and they just get overwhelmed with the day-to-day work that's to be done. And so I write about stepping back and slowing down a lot, and I have a series on my site called Dear Mom Letters, and they're just very simple letters that are written by me to mothers. And when I write, one of the things that I do is, instead of writing like I'm writing to 10,000 people, I really imagine myself writing to just one person at a time, and like we're sitting across from the table and having a dialogue and a conversation. I write about intentional living, and I give a lot of tips and lists just about finding joy in life and looking at things. But I also have a subset of my blog dedicated to celiac disease and gluten-free. I have a son that has that, and I found that this is an amazing platform to be able to reach out in that way as well. And so I have a set of readers that come to me looking for advice on raising a child with celiac disease or gluten-free as well. And I'm very blessed to have that platform. As far as areas that I use, I'm all over different facets of social media, working on getting into YouTube. I'm working on getting some of my letters into podcasts and ebooks. I love Pinterest. I feel like Pinterest is a great static source because I have so much content and I've been able to rework content and make it Pinterest friendly. I use Twitter. I have the same feelings about Twitter. I find that Twitter is a great place for me to connect on a peer level with other people or businesses, because I do work with different brands on stuff, and it's just an excellent and easy platform for that. And Facebook, I have a larger Facebook following, and that's really where my readers can interact with each other, and I enjoy that platform for that purpose.
Okay, that's a lot of stuff what you do. I saw your recent post, and this was not 10 rules to be happy or something like that. It was 82 rules. 82 tips. How do you write 82 tips? And this goes a little bit in this kind of question. How long does it take you to write a post like that? Maybe the other people can also reflect on that, because you all do great content. That's the reason why you are here. So how long does it take for you to write something, a post like that?
The tip posts, the ones where I do a list, they actually take the least amount of time. They probably take me, that one probably took me from start to finish a little over an hour to do. Now I'm very busy and I have many children, so I can reference them and try to learn from experience. I found that the ones that are a little bit more, the one that I wrote before that can take a little bit longer. That one was dealing with really slowing down and being very grateful for just the moments that we have. That one was called Why Vacuuming is Always Beautiful. And I think that's simply in direct reflection to sometimes we lose the beauty in the normal everyday things that we do. And we need to just kind of, when we lose normal, we don't realize how much we appreciate normal. And so it was just basically a stepping back for mothers or parents or anybody to just appreciate the normal things in life. And those posts take a little bit longer because I want to get the pictures correct, because I do use a lot of visual content to drive what I'm writing.
What do the other people do? I know that Klaus is doing a guide that feels like it takes very long, but how long does it take this kind of premium parts to do, and what would be for you an average post, and how long does this take?
Average post, that's difficult to say. It can take all the way from 2 to 3 hours, all the way up to like 4 days to write something like this. It depends.
How can you post then every day?
I don't post every day. I don't post every day.
Okay.
No. I post. I haven't posted for a while now because I've been doing a lot of other stuff. But I try to post regularly, maybe once a week. I'm not the type of guy who can push out a post a day, because these things, as you say, they cost a lot of time. Especially if you're doing like a tutorial about photography, about a specific subfield of photography where you have to do research, you have to work on images, you have to prepare all the images that go into the post. That takes its time, no question. So I couldn't put out a post every day. No way I could do that.
Okay. Etteh, what are you doing? I think you do every day, right?
Yes, I do post every day. I do
you
around.
Do a video, right?
I do. All my posts usually combined with videos. I do about 3 posts a day with videos combined. But even that too depends. It depends on what products I have coming in. So in my case, I have to plan ahead. I usually know what products I'm getting ahead of time, and I can schedule or plan what videos I need to create for those products, as well as posts. Some posts take longer than others. For instance, some of my reviews, I have to plan what I want to do. So in a quick example, I have a review for a case for the iPhone that I decided to throw into a dryer, put it in my freezer, do different things with it. So I have to coordinate those things and plan that. So those could take a couple more hours or even a day to do. And some could be very quick because they are, smaller products that I can easily show people right ahead, what it does. So it all depends. But in my case, I create a schedule, a soft schedule in my head, knowing what I need to do the next day and the day after that.
This is interesting. So, Klaus, you already are, Klaus and Rachel, both of you were already talking about the different channels that you're using, so to get in contact with your audience. And so I was just want to a little bit reflect on that a little bit more. And Klaus, you said already before, you post only once a week. Something is wrong, because I perceived you do more than once in a week. So yeah. I would assume it's the second thing what you do. You stimulate also some responses by people. You try to engage people, maybe not with your photo alone. I don't know exactly. You can a little bit explain what else you do beside these or how do you get reaction by people? I think this is a very typical question what people have. Well, I post my stuff, but no one is reacting, or I do some other things. So how do you stimulate people that they really respond?
Well, first of all, about the posting, the once per week, maybe that's the frequency where I post on my website. If you think of post on Google+, that's obviously more regularly. These things are shorter. You have lots of content that you can choose from, because on those social media channels there is, let's say, an unspoken rule that says it's not about you. That's a little bit strange to say, but if you want to engage in social media, you have to offer stuff to people. You have to give them valuable information, and you also have to do a thing called content curation, which is if you're active on these platforms, you're going to discover a lot of interesting content that's not written by you, but written by other people and produced by other people. And sharing this stuff with your community is one of the big factors in this social media game, so to speak. So, of course, I post more often to Google+, Facebook, and all the other channels, but that's, let's say, it's like 60% other stuff and 40% about me. So that combines all the posts together. About the engagement, you have to be active. You have to be active on these platforms. You have to share interesting things with people that stirs discussion. You have to answer questions. For example, I'm doing from time to time a thing called +1 poll on Google+, where I pose a question and I give the answers in the comments, and people can +1 the answer that they choose. So if you want to engage people, and that's true not only in social media but in life in general, you have to approach them. You have to offer interesting information for them that they can engage with, and you have to ask questions. It's as simple as that. And you have to be there and also answer questions if they have some. So the worst thing you can do is post and run. So you post something and you're off, right? You're not. People comment and maybe they ask a question and nothing happens. That's the worst thing you can do for your engagement.
What can the other people add to that, or from their experience with the engagement? Because I hear very often that people desperately look for this kind of small tricks, and I think what Klaus said was more, well, it's more a complete attitude thing, and you do a lot of active things, but it's not so much a trick. But maybe you have some, what kind of techniques do you use to get people involved?
Don't use tricks. Don't trick people.
Yes, no tricks.
Okay.
No, I definitely agree with Klaus there. The thing with social media is that you have to engage the audience. You have to give them content and be part of the audience at the same time. My largest channel is YouTube. I have close to about over 10,000 subscribers on YouTube, and even though I am the main provider of content for my audience, I still spend time in looking at some of their videos and leaving comments at their videos and talking about what they if they might need help in creating videos or doing their own reviews, that kind of thing. And also I spend most of my day answering questions. I get over 200 questions emails off YouTube daily. So it's not just answering the question. It's what I think most people like to see is the engagement in you answering the question. It's not saying, okay, oh, this is what you need to get, but more of, okay, this is what you need to get. Why do you need it, and what are you looking for? Maybe I can help you with that. And what I get from responses from most people is that they are glad to see that, number one, I'm quick in answering the questions. Number two, I've almost open up an avenue for discussion for them, so now they can now express what they're really looking for, not just the question itself. And then I'm now just engaging them, and I've basically brought them in as a regular subscriber instead of someone who just watched one video, because that's something you want to do. You want to engage them in every avenue. The other aspect too, I use besides YouTube being my main social media network, Twitter is also probably one of my second highest volume users. And for me in Twitter, I usually post out links to the blog. But the other thing I do is I start up conversations, of course, even on Twitter, even though it's 140 characters with audience there. And my conversations range from everything. I talk about tech all the way to socioeconomic policies, and I think there people just like to see that you're a human being and not a bot or some manager from a site that is just spewing out information, and they really like the fact that you're actually just spending time and discussing with them. And like Klaus said, same things you do in real life is the same things you do in social media in engagement. You need to actually spend time with people and make sure that they see that you have other interests that also kind of aligns with theirs, or at least you have a broader spectrum than just what you're talking about within your framework.
Yeah, I totally agree. One of the avenues that I found that my readers really relate to is Instagram, and I know there's the whole brouhaha going on with Instagram right now, but what I think my readers love about it is they can see that I'm this real person, because it's not contrived at all. It's just my real life, and they get to see me in action, whether it's simple things like cutting a snowflake or whatever it is, but they get to see this aspect of me away from the words that I write. And to me, it's really about relationships. It is about me establishing a relationship. It's a relationship of trust when I review things, because I'm not primarily a review site. I'm very loyal with who I work with and stuff, because my readers come to look and they value what I say, and I reciprocate it back. I thank them. It's about gratitude a lot. It's about, as we were discussing, just even opening up the dialogue, sharing stuff that they've written. Even in something that I write on Fridays, I just write about favorite things, and a lot of times I'll just kind of call out comments or things that have blessed me, just so that people know that it's not really just about me. It's about us creating a dialogue.
I need to jump in for this, Rachel, because I think what I learned from here is really that it is being honest, being personal, being this real person on the other side, and doing this with this kind of mission for the community. But what also is puzzling for me is you do all of this content, you post, you prepare that, you take more time or less time for that, and you are very helpful, and you're on this channel, and you should not jump away from your computer. And Rachel, you have 7 kids.
I do.
How do you do that? How do you do that? You cannot raise your kid on the computer screen.
I do not. Actually, it's interesting. If you look at my FAQs, one of the things I write about is I get hundreds of emails, but I can't respond to everyone. I do try, but I write about intentional living. And for me to be an intentional person means I have to shut the computer screen. And sometimes I don't get to everybody, but I've tried to respond as much as I can and to create the dialogue. That's why I like the channels at Facebook, where I can just say a thank you. But it's also about being very conscientious of time. It would be very easy for me to be on the computer all day long and to miss out on the moments, but then what I would write about wouldn't be authentic. So I have established very strict boundaries for myself and for my children about how we use social media. And that's why I'm thankful for other channels like Twitter or Instagram. I still love them.
Okay, I understand. Klaus, you don't have 7 kids, I assume. You don't have 7 kids?
No, not yet.
we haven't talked about that, but what I know from you is you have 1.5, approximately, I don't know exactly if this is true, but 1.5 million followers on Google+.
Yep.
So how do you be a nice guy to 1.5 million people? So how do you be this kind of responsive guy? How many comments do you get? It's impossible for me to grasp how you handle all of this.
Yeah, it can be tough. As long as it's on one platform, it's okay. But if you spread your activities over several platforms, it's really it can be a chore to really manage all of that. And the thing that you so social media is not a one-shot thing. So you don't set it up and walk away. You have to really work it. And if you want to get something out, you have to put something in, obviously. Mm-hmm. And to me, it's all about establishing a routine, making it part of the workday. So in the morning when I get up, the first thing is that I'm trying to find new content. I'm going to my iPad, flipping through Flipboard, which I set up to collect all the interesting stuff that is going on the internet. I'm curating that, and then I'm trying to take care of the comments, of the emails. It can take a few hours, but you really have to put in this work to get something back. And the thing that I would advise people is that they set up a routine, that they should be looking at tools. There are tools out there that can make your life easier with social media. For example, Hootsuite is a tool that I'm using that that presents all the stuff that's happening in a compact view and that gives you an overview in a very short time. There are other tools out there specifically for photography, social media sites. Use these tools, learn these tools, and then you can. You don't need to invest a whole day worth of social media work, but maybe 2 hours is enough.
Okay, keep it in. Oh, Etteh, how you do that?
No, I agree with Klaus there. He mentioned a couple of very good things, especially just creating that schedule. It's something that you need, or else you get overwhelmed. In my case, the same thing. I usually wake up and I answer emails, and my case is again, YouTube is my biggest avenue, so I'm replying emails on YouTube on different posts, and trying to get to as many people as possible. You can't get to everyone, but you just have to prioritize exactly what you need to get into in terms of discussion. The other thing too is to try and foster discussion within the framework of the post itself, so that your users tend to spend time helping you answer those questions. Especially on YouTube for me, is once I have a video up, I try to have a discussion on there so that people can, it's almost like a self-policing of the discussion itself, where people put in comments, help answer questions that other people have. So that goes in a long way in building that whole discussion and dialogue. But in terms of just using tools, like I said, Hootsuite is good. Since I usually use just Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, I have the mobile apps on my smartphone, and they go a long way in helping me answer questions, creating that dialogue and discussing with people the whole day without actually me running back to a computer or sitting down to say, okay, I need to reply to this. The other thing too is I think people should understand that sometimes in social media you have to be instant and not instant at the same time. There's sometimes you really have to answer that question or jump into that dialogue, because there's certain things, depending on what your site or your business is about, that you should be able to respond quickly. A quick example is a company like Samsung. They do have a very large social media team, and I actually know some of the people on that team. And something they said that was actually quite striking is that they look at responses as though it was, say, someone in their family was asking them a question. They want that to be answered quickly and done correctly, so that for a company like Samsung, image is a big issue, and also customer service is a big issue, so that the customers feel that they are there to help them move forward and enjoy the products that they have. So it's the same thing if you look at your content, that people are there to enjoy your content and also experience it the best way you want it to be represented, be it a blog post, be it a discussion you have. So that's something I think people should just try and understand, that the time you take and also the speed at which you take to answer some of these questions or comments, it goes a long way into creating that image that you are someone who is willing to spend time and engage with your audience.
Thank you very much. So maybe for the people who are following us on YouTube and Google+, we are now switching to a next section. We have here a complete offline audience, which is super unusual for social media. So usually these events are completely online. But we have here an audience, and I would open it now that I have asked my question and I get these great answers. I would ask my audience, what do you think, what you want to ask these people, how they do stuff, or what is something after all of this talking now that would maybe you interest? And we have a microphone here, so hopefully, can I get some signs? Okay, we'll run. And you guys can tell me if you can hear what is here, the audio.
Thank you so much for what you've shared.
Just a short, can you hear that? Yeah, you can.
Yes, I can. Thank you.
I'm just curious exactly what you do to get paid. Is this a paid passion or an unpaid passion? Because a lot of us here are just trying to, how do we use this for our jobs? I work with a nonprofit, how do I use it? And it seems like it's just, I don't understand what you do to get paid.
So who wants to start? Who earns the most money?
I think I can answer some of those questions. I'll take it. I'll just reflect it in my case. Again, like I said, my blog is a tech entertainment blog, and for me, generating revenue almost applies to the sense of business. How can you create revenue for my business. And a couple of things is I use, of course, this Google AdSense where you run ads on your blog. I'm big on YouTube, so all my YouTube videos run ads. So if you watch any video on YouTube nowadays, you can see there's an ad before the video starts. There are ads that roll through at the bottom of the video. And also, I also try to source out advertising content from specific companies. So I could reach out to a company, say for instance Samsung, and they would want to advertise on the website itself, and put an ad placement for a certain duration of time. And of course, you charge whatever within your matrix to estimate what that will cost. So it's looking for, in terms of revenue, your base revenue would probably come from Google AdSense, because that's something that anyone can easily set up and do. But that also depends on traffic and how much that comes back to the site. And then you have other avenues through YouTube, as well as just sourcing advertisers individually.
Etteh, can I ask very shortly, when does this advertising game gets a little bit interesting that you would say you get, I don't know what, 500 or 1,000 bucks a site? I always ask, my students ask always that. Any ideas?
Well, it depends on, I would say it depends on traffic. I mean, literally it really depends on traffic in that sense. For me, I would say it got interesting when I spent more time on YouTube. YouTube is my biggest revenue source in terms of subscribers, as well as just pure revenue itself. And so I've amassed more subscribers there. I've also amassed a higher view count in my video views. So that goes a long way. But in general, the more traffic you get usually correlates to the high amount of revenue that you get with your site. So that just goes hand in hand. So it's spending time in social media to drive that traffic also goes a long way to increasing your revenue.
How do the other guys do that?
Okay, so I'm a photographer, so I'm mainly earning my money with photographies, selling photos, licensing photos, doing education. Education is a very big part. Doing workshops and that type of stuff. So I'm not at the moment directly earning income from social media or from ads, but it's more an indirect thing. So by the stuff that I do on social media, I attract people. By the stuff, for example, if I upload something to Flickr and that gets really popular, so Flickr is a photo sharing site which also has like a social component. Let's call it like this. When some photos pop up at the top when you search for certain terms, then they have a good chance of being licensed and sold. And the other thing is education. So the stuff that I'm sharing with people on the social media sites is tutorials and educational content. And of course that attracts people that are trying to learn, and through that I can then point them to my paid stuff like ebooks and that kind of stuff. And I can also do some mild advertising for workshops and this kind of events. So it's like, for me, it's an indirect thing. And there is a saying out there that goes, social media is not for selling, it's for branding. So if you're going on social media and just trying to hard sell something, so all you post is buy this, buy that, go to this website, download this thing, it's not going to work.
Right.
So you're building a brand on social media, you're building trust, and then when people trust you, they automatically come to the stuff that you want to sell, or they don't. And if they don't, well, that's fine too. But you shouldn't hard sell on social media.
Yeah.
I completely agree. Yeah, mine is a little bit indirect as well. I do a lot of speaking. From the writing, it's opened up avenues for speaking and sharing in that way. I also have a lot of posts and things that I've written that have been syndicated, and for those I receive compensation as well. I am part of a publishing network, and that helps with it. But it is a lot exactly about being authentic and building, finding joy, building the brand, and that has opened up the opportunities. If I was just to, like Klaus said, hard sell, it just wouldn't work. It's not authentic. So it's this gradual growing of a brand and of who I am and what I believe in. And the compensation part, for me, it's very diversified in different channels. I can't just look at one thing like just the publishing network to bring compensation. It's being in many different facets that help to bring it together. I think if I was to just look at just doing Google AdSense, I probably wouldn't make as much. So I look at different channels to do it, and I'm involved in different communities, and just even the opportunity to speak at different places, that has grown just simply from as my blog has grown.
Thank you. We have a next question.
Thank you. I'm very interested in what you said, Professor Kuntz, about your website being your quality home. I've reinvented myself as an internet marketer, and with all of the controversies that have arisen in the various social networking platforms such as Instagram, Yelp, I was curious about your panel. Would you find it easier to try and drive your traffic to a website and therefore be able to respond more efficiently and more accurately? And what would happen if these various platforms change their policies and you're suddenly yanked because you're not in compliance?
I didn't really get that. Didn't hear that properly. Could you repeat that, Werner?
Yeah, I can repeat it. So the question is about, if I can repeat that adequately, you can correct me. The question is about how you deal, we talked before that about the home site as your home destination, where you create your own stuff, your own content, and how you deal with all of these channels, and how you see that as a central piece, and how do you deal with changes of the regulation. Is that true? So the regulations of Facebook, Twitter, or whatever comes up. So maybe the Instagram disaster is maybe a good example for that too.
I think the thing with the regulation, or the secret with dealing with regulation, is to be diverse. So if you're just on Instagram, and if you're really big on Instagram, then you may be screwed now. I mean, the CEO took back a lot of the changes in the terms of services, kind of. But you shouldn't rely on one platform. I mean, we've seen social media platforms come and go. For example, MySpace was very big, 2005 and before. Now it's revival. It has a revival now, but it was essentially dead when Facebook really got big. And as unlikely as it may seem, there will be a day when Facebook will be the new MySpace. So don't be on one platform only. The secret of being of surviving important changes on any platform is to be on different platforms.
Yeah, I definitely agree with Klaus there. You have to be adaptive to all platforms, and be ready to change, because if there are changes that come through in social media, if you can adapt to that successfully, you still as a brand will move forward. Be it like you said, Instagram making those policy changes, or Facebook saying, okay, we're going to limit the amount of outbound traffic to websites, things like that. You have to be ready to to create an avenue where your users will follow you. Again, goes back to building that community and also that social awareness, because once they realize they can't get your content, they will come. They will look for other avenues to get your content. So that's something, building that social awareness works very well.
I think what fits very well to that, we had a pre-discussion, Klaus, and you talked about how you configure your kind of followership and how you try to move masses from one channel to another one. If I remember right, so can you say me one or two sentences to what are the challenges with that?
Reconfigure my what?
that you bring. I don't know if you read it on your blog, but that you are changing your kind of branding. You go from a page perspective to a personal perspective.
Oh,
so
yes.
And I think it was very interesting. Maybe I read it. It was not the pre-discussion. So. That is, yeah, talk about it. Sorry.
Yes, when I started out with Facebook, which is not too long ago, I think it was 1.5 years ago, I started with Facebook. I created a Facebook page because at that time it seemed more appropriate to build a Facebook page for a brand. There were also some rules saying that you cannot represent a business with a personal profile. And recently, there were a few changes and a lot of rumors about them that essentially resulted in that whatever you post on your Facebook page is only visible to like 15% of your followers. There are no hard facts on that, but it's there was an obvious change and people started speculating about it, and you could really see that the reach that you had with a Facebook page dropped. So you were suddenly reaching a lot fewer people with the same post on your Facebook page than before. And that, coupled with some other things, led me to a change. I had like, I don't know, 1,500 people on my Facebook page. And a couple of weeks ago, I decided to close that page and switch everything to my personal profile. So the reason was, one, that it's actually more personal to have people follow you on your personal profile than on a business page, which always creates a bit of a distance between you and people. And the second thing was that, people, or I started gathering likes and people who liked the page, but I couldn't reach them. So that was one example of such a change that was referred to earlier in the question, where Facebook just changed the rules, and you just have to be ready to react to it. If I had like 100,000 people liking my Facebook page, that would have been a very difficult situation, of course. But I was in a situation where I could do that, and I think right now I'm like at 3,000 subscribers at my personal profile, so it really paid off.
Okay. So another question.
Thank you. This is a wealth of information. The question I have for those of us that are in the infancy of social media, where did all of you start attracting your followers prior to social media? I'm just trying to know from where I'm coming, if I'm way far back or moving forward in the right direction. Did you use print, electronic? How did you go about how you used to attract your customers and then making the transition into social media attraction?
So I think I need to repeat. It was a little bit quiet. So the question is about how that starts with you, and the question is also about how you did things before social media were in place, or how when social media was so useful for you like it is today. So how does it start? Well, how have you done things without social media before?
I, for example, started as an amateur photographer uploading photos to Flickr, for example. So I started out with Flickr, opening an account, 0 followers, 0 contacts, and I started posting stuff. And I posted stuff, photos and also the details of post-processing these photos, where the interest is really in. And I pretended as if I had like 10,000 followers. So it was not like I didn't sit there and say, okay, there's 0 people looking at this, so I'm going to make it crap. But I just pretended for myself that I was, okay, there is these 10,000 people out there who I'm posting to, and I'm just going to make it as good as I can. And eventually, there were 10,000 people out there looking at it. So the first thing that you have to do is create great content. And do that on a regular basis, and then people will come. It's not the other way around.
Right.
That's very true.
No, sorry, no, Etteh. Do start.
No, I'm just agreeing with Klaus there. Again, your content goes a long way. I did the same thing. I started with the blog 5 years ago, and for me, it was Facebook. And I told all my friends. I shared the content with all my friends because they knew who I was. I'm the person who loves technology. So I first made it try to make it my mission to be the technology base for people who are close to me. I had 1,000 friends on Facebook, so I said, you know what, this is the first avenue I can reach out to, and I can discuss that with them. But also making sure the content felt very genuine. I do all my reviews and my videos at home, so I like to show my tech the way I use it and the way I think people would use their technology. And people have gravitated to that because I've made my content very personal. I've made my content something that I think people would love to see and share. So it's starting from that base and then moving forward. Same thing with going on YouTube. I got on YouTube rather late, 2009, compared to other people who do tech on YouTube. And it was, just making sure that people saw the content the right way. People were engaged with my content and engaging them and thinking, you know what, yes, I have 100,000 followers and my videos will have the best special effects I could make. And I would put a beautiful intro, cue music, all that kind of stuff. Because as long as people look at it and say you're pushing out content that is good and also clearly represents how you feel as someone in the social media sphere, that is quality, eventually they'll come. And it's all about making sure, the old saying in the movie that says, build it and they will come. That's pretty much what it is. If you build crap, no one's going to come. If you build something solid, people will eventually come.
Yeah, another question?
So I have a question. A little bit, we've been talking all about the positive things, but obviously if you're engaging with your audience as much as you all are, I'd be curious to understand how you use it almost as a customer service vehicle. If you wrote a review about a camera and I bought that camera and I thought the camera was terrible, I might send a note or say that your reviews are very bad. How would you address that? Are you engaging your audience? I guess ultimately the question is, how are you engaging on the negative side?
Did you hear that?
Yes, I did.
Yes.
There are a couple of things I do with my reviews and in making sure that I can cover that pre-hand before going back to answering a question, say from you, and in saying you buying a camera and you thought it wasn't as good as I stated. Number one, I don't give numbers in my reviews. I usually start off with my reviews showing what the product's about, what they say the product does, and I test it out on all those aspects. If it doesn't work well on those aspects, you can clearly see it doesn't. So I start off my reviews on that basis saying, you know what, this is a camera that says it shoots well at night at low light. Let's check it out. If it doesn't work, well, you just saw it right there. That's how I build that ahead of time to show people that, you know what, this works in certain things, this doesn't. And if you're looking for something specific like that, then go ahead. If not, then skip to something else. And then if I get an email, say from one of my subscribers or fans that says, okay, I got this camera and you said it worked for this, but it didn't happen, I'm not pleased with your review. That's where I then email them back and engage and say, okay, how did you use it? Did you use it the same way I did? This is what I did. These are the results. I still have the camera here. Maybe I can help you out with it because there might be something that you might have missed or might have done wrong with it. And and I would try and replicate the same scenario. And if it still doesn't work, then it just might be the camera itself. The unit itself that you have. So I try to do it beforehand, showing things that the product actually does and if it does it well or not. So my reviews are more educational sessions in a way, showing you how the product works, not telling you how it works. Because once you see it, especially in a video, then okay, this is what I need it for. So that's how I combat that with my own videos and posts.
I think a lot of it's dialogue, seeking to understand. If an email comes in and it's questioning something, rather than I just give them the benefit of the doubt and email back trying to understand that person's point of view and their heart. And a lot of times, just the dialogue itself, any type of situation is resolved and diffused at that point. It's about me listening to what they're saying versus me making an assumption on what they're saying. And then when we can dialogue, like I said, most of the time it's not a big deal at all. It's just creating that relationship between myself and those who read what I write.
Yeah, I think one big factor here is to what we said earlier to make it personal. So on the internet there are a lot of funny guys running around doing funny stuff, and even if you meet a sensible person, he or she might have a bad day, and out of this can come comments and messages that are not very objective, and people sometimes just call you names very openly.
Yes.
And the more followers you have, the more often that happens. And the way I deal with it is that, first of all, I make it personal. So people know that I am a person and not some kind of a brand. I'm not BMW, I'm not Starbucks or whoever, where there's no person associated with the entity you're talking to, but it's me, okay? So that's the first thing. And if people are realizing that they're talking to a real person, that changes the way they react in most cases. So it's, as Rachel says, it's the dialogue that resolves most of the things rather quickly. Before that, I start preventing that by making the stuff that I share as good as I can. So if anybody has something to say about it, negative, I'm usually in a position to counter that and to give them a way to improve. In my example, it's if I post a tutorial on some kind of post-processing stuff, I get a lot of comments saying, "Oh, this doesn't work," and there is no button there to click on. Or in Photoshop CS6, it works differently than you explained it, and most of the time, there is a way to resolve that problem because people got something wrong, and I stay polite. I give them the right answer. I try to answer promptly, and that resolves most of the stuff. Sometimes there are still freaks out there who don't want to have an answer to some question, but who just want to be freaks. You call them trolls. Those are people on the internet who are trying to spread some hate about on other people. There's no real way of dealing with those. The best thing you can do is ignore them or just be polite. Usually politeness scares them off.
Sure.
I think that's true.
Do you have time for another question?
Yeah,
Okay.
sure.
I have been hearing the various gradations of sophistication that have come out of the several years that you people have been in social media, starting out with simple updates on Facebook, uploading images, photos, and then creating videos and ebooks and publishing, and oh my goodness, how do I learn how to create a video?
Okay.
How do you learn what?
How do you learn to create a video is the question. You guys using video actively. I know that Etteh, no question about it, he's the expert, but Rachel and Klaus, do you use videos?
Yes,
I do.
Yes. Step number 1, buy a good webcam. Step number 2, buy a good microphone. Buy a good microphone. So it's like we're talking about like $40 or something. Good is does not have to be professional.
Yes.
Get free software, like if you're on a Windows machine, Windows Movie Maker or things like that. I have recently switched to Adobe Premiere, which is a bit more expensive. But you know, if you want to step up to higher quality stuff, that's necessary sometimes. But there are free tools out there where you can start making a video in a snap. It's not expensive. It doesn't take a long time, and you can do screencasts and all that kind of stuff with relatively few resources.
Yes, and also get other thing is if you can get lighting, you can actually get lighting pretty cheap. especially of Amazon, I think. Just if you're trying to expand that video production. In my case, instead of a webcam, I would say get a if you're really serious about getting into video, get a decent HD camcorder. That goes a long way in making sure that you have solid videos. And start off recording your videos in the day where it's bright, there's lights, people can see you clearly, and then just work your way from there. The mic is also very important. And at the end of the day, be yourself. Don't try and create a character that isn't you. Just be as genuine as you can. Let yourself come out. People will, eventually. There are people who eventually love who you are because that's just who you are. So don't try and imitate or copy or look at somebody else's video and say, well, that person is doing that. Just be yourself and relate your content that way.
That was going to be my step 7, was just start, because I think we can all find reasons not to do it, and it's just biting the bullet and just going ahead with it. And like we were all sharing, just who you are is, don't change it, don't script it, just be yourself and start.
Yeah, I was going to say that the toughest thing is not to buy a webcam, but to start at some point. Don't overthink it. Just buy stuff that gets you in the position to produce a video or an image or whatever, and start off. Things can improve later on.
Let me, because we do in my classes, we do a lot of social media projects, and it's interesting, and I think you agree, you guys, that video is a kind of medium that people process in a way, when it's short and when it's a little bit engaging, very much easier. People love to click on this kind of play button, phrase it like that. So sometimes when the article is too long, the play button, your community will appreciate that in a way. And it's fascinating that the first answer was buy a webcam and buy a microphone that works. Because we see it here with this Google Plus Hangout. I think it's terrific what you guys are, the kind of knowledge you give us. And we do it with some webcams and some microphones and a little bit internet. That is all what you need to do. You need to have an idea and try to execute that. And you need a webcam and a microphone. And there's so many things that you can do with webcam and microphone and an idea. My experience from the classes is very often when you do this kind of video project, do it 1, 2, 3 times, and the third version is already good enough to send it out. The first version seldomly, especially when you try out a new idea. It doesn't work, you realize your microphone doesn't work, or this and this you need to do differently. But that's all. And the really cool thing is really video. A lot of people appreciate video very, very much and watch that. So that is an interesting thing, but it's very much overseen. Thank you very much, you guys, that you took the time. So we
welcome.
Yeah,
yes, thank you.
Thank you very much.
So yeah, we have an applause here. Hopefully you can hear that. It is really great that you take the time, and we all know, we can imagine how busy your schedules are. And we will continue here. I will now switch off the broadcast. I also thank all the people who watch that maybe live. And yeah, hopefully we can do that from UMass Boston in spring semester again.